We're back, and we're here with Robert Jordan. Welcome back to Fast Forward.
Thank you for having me.
You know, I have to say, first of all, congratulations. I mean, we get a lot of extremely successful authors on this show, many of whom make the bestseller list, but very few of them debut at #1 on the New York Times bestseller list when a book comes out. Very well done.
Thank you. Thank you. It's very nice to happen.
And I'm sure that Mr. Doherty of Tor is extremely happy that it happened too.
Oh yes, he was dancing in the middle of his office.
Well, Knife of Dreams, number 11 in the series of the Wheel of Time as we come closer to the end of the age. And it's really a delightful book. I had a marvelous time reading it. You keep telling people to read and find out. And if they read this book, boy, are they going to find out a lot. There's a lot of stuff packed into this storyline. You've got a lot of payoff for people who've been waiting for foreshadowings to come to fruition. How did it feel to be able to finally put all of that down after carrying it for so long?
Good. Very good.
It's been, well, we're coming in on 20 years that you've been working on the world.
Well, it has been 20 years.
And it's going to be close to a quarter of a century by the time you finally finish this story. Did you think when you first built this that this much of your life was going to be taken up with this other world you created?
Oh, no, no. I signed a contract for 6 books and frankly thought it would take me 6 years to write them. And that would be that. Because I thought I could tell this story in 6 books.
Well, it's quite a story, and it's not like there's not enough in there for us to read. It's not like it's been padded by any stretch of the imagination. There's just so much story to tell.
I've actually dropped out bits, things that I intended to put in, because I realized it was going to push it even further, even longer.
Well, you know, there'll be mixed feelings from your readers on that. Some that are glad that it just means they're getting to the end eventually and can finally find out that last scene that you've talked about for so many years. And others that'll be rather sad that they won't have another book in this storyline to look forward to another couple of years down the road.
Well, they will have some books in this world. There are still 2 short prequel novels to be written at some time in the future. And while I have always said I would never write in this universe again unless I came up with a really terrific idea, it's possible that I have come up with an idea for 2 or maybe 3 outrigger novels, you might call them. I have to poke at the idea for a year or 2 and see if it really stands up to that, though, because I don't want to just write something to be writing it. It's got to be something that's good.
Well, I understand that. That's perfectly reasonable. One of the things I wanted to talk about while we were here was something that I was thinking about as I was reading the last novel. And I think it just came more into focus for me than it's been there for a long time. You have a world that's teetering on the edge of destruction, possibly, and certainly on the edge of incredible change. And yet, so much of the storyline is taking up with people who are aware that this is going to occur, know that it is coming closer and closer, and yet still their lives are dominated by petty squabbles and concerns about personal power to the detriment of people who are trying to deal with what is to come. Is this something you observe in human nature and then you just incorporate it in the story?
I believe it is part of human nature. I think people who have belly buttons look to their own self-interest first. Politicians convince themselves that what is in their self-interest is good for the people. And that doesn't matter what political party, left, right, center. People say, this is what I believe, this is what I want, and that means it's good for the people. People look at their own self-interest first. If you want the self-sacrificing hero who's going to say, this is what is truly in the best interest of the world, and I will put aside my own beliefs, my own wishes, my own desires, you have to find somebody without a belly button.
And there aren't many of those around. What I also found fascinating was it struck me as I was reading this. The Aes Sedai are undergoing tremendous change for the first time in centuries. And I wonder, as I was reading it, if one of the problems with their ability to change and to recognize the world changing around them isn't the fact that their longevity allows them to kind of view the world one way, and the older they are, the longer it is that one unchanging way, the harder it is for them to adjust to the change that's occurring in the world.
It's not only that, their own longevity, it is more the longevity of the tower, which has existed as the one stable pole of political power and influence in the world for more than 3,000 years. This tends to make people believe that the way they see things is correct, that they must know simply because they've been observing for so long.
And one of the lovely things about this universe is you very, very carefully explore and explain a number of very different worldviews of different groups that we encounter along this adventure. And it leaves room for people to think about whether or not their worldview is the worldview or just a worldview. Do you ever examine your own sometimes that way?
Sometimes. But I generally figure I'm right because I have a belly button.
Now, one of the interesting things that happened along the way to Knife of Dreams was that you took a small pause and wrote a rather short novel called New Spring.
Yes.
And out of New Spring, which is essentially a prequel to the storyline that we have in the Wheel of Time novels, came a new project, a series of graphic novels of
Yes.
New Spring. How did that come about?
Well, the DeBell brothers approached me and other people who had written stories in Bob Silverberg's anthology Legends and asked whether we would allow them to do comic books of our novellas, the comic books to be collected into a graphic novel once they were all done. And I had begun the project already or completed the project of expanding my novella New Spring into the novel New Spring. And I said, well, no, I don't want you to do the novella, do the complete story. You can do New Spring.
Now, you're listed, of course, as the writer because you created the storyline. Did you actually go over and develop the individual scripts for each of the novels?
No, Chuck Dixon does the scripts. The scripts are then sent to me, and I go through them and make corrections and changes and suggest sometimes a different view, a different scene. I don't mess with it a lot because Chuck Dixon knows what he's doing. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, I know the book. So sometimes I can say, look, this is important. You really need to put this in. It's more important than that other thing.